Let's have everybody take their yoga block and put it between their knees and have your knees bent, like you're in the bridge position, basically. So the yoga block between your knees, squeezing it gently, and your head's all the way flat back. Okay. So what I want to talk about first is the idea of you getting to that pressure in your core and really being able to align your positioning for the rest of class. I also want to activate or start kind of using your serratus muscles, which are those really cool muscles on the sides of your rib cage that you see surfers and boxers have a lot. And that's going to really help with your shoulder health. So first, let's have everybody reach up to the ceiling, kind of in this weird way, so that your middle fingers are facing each other and you're reaching up to the ceiling as high as you can. Now, I want a few things to happen as we sink our breath in. So you're going to breathe all the way in through your nose and fully exhale. Don't necessarily need to stay on a tempo, but if you want one, let's say in for 4 and out for 6. I really want you to focus on exhaling everything. Think about your sternum is going to melt into the ground. I literally want you to feel your rib cage go all the way in and down into the ground. Now, as you start to get a hold on that, I want you to actually try to get your hands as close to the ceiling as possible. The reason your hands are getting close to the ceiling is because your shoulder blades are getting closer to the ceiling. So you're actually protracting. Now, most of us should have kind of felt like their chin just lifted up a little bit. Maybe you felt like you moved through your spine a little bit. I want you to fix both of those things. So here's the next level of thinking about this. I want you to try to retract your chin, like we did a couple of times yesterday. And I want you to think about flattening out the top of your neck, the bottom of your neck, the middle, the whole entire neck into the ground. Then I want you to think about flattening your upper back into the ground. Essentially, I'd like you to try to get your entire thoracic spine and cervical spine on the ground. I don't necessarily think it's possible, but keep trying. Now, as you did that, you probably lost some of the height in your hands. So try to get that back. Nice, strong exhale. Reach up to the ceiling even more. At this point, now that you're locking it in, you should start noticing that your breath is actually going to a different spot. Maybe you feel it filling up your upper back a little bit differently. Maybe you still feel your chin getting pulled off of the ground. Try to retract it, keep it down into the ground. Continue to fill all the way up. Now try to add a little bit of a maximum expansive kind of focus where you're really trying to get the ribs to push out, to push back, to push forward, and at all costs get rid of everything. I want it to be like you literally have nothing left. Continue to reach on every single exhale, getting more space into that upper back. Now, we should all have those blocks in between our knees, so maybe you notice you started to kind of squeeze in a little bit harder. That's perfectly fine. Your lower back should have a natural curve. So if you notice you started flattening out your lower back, that's not necessarily what I want. I want it to stay natural. Now, let's go ahead and gently, while continually squeezing the blocks, lift your knees up to 90 degrees. Let's dorsiflex our ankles or pull our toes to our knees. Hold right here. Notice that you probably lifted up your chin a little bit. Maybe you stopped reaching as much. Maybe you flattened out your lower back. Basically, everything you were trying to do just got a lot harder. So see if you can maintain your breath. If you want a tempo, in for 4, out for 6. And you're trying to reach and get as high as you can on every exhale. You should start to really feel some abs start to work. Think as if you had a ring around your rib cage. I want it to fill all the way up. I want it to exhale all the way out. If your wrists, your forearms, your shoulders, any of that stuff's getting tired, it's okay. It's been like 7 minutes already, so that's perfectly normal. Okay, now we're going to go ahead and let that block out. So go ahead and grab the block, set it off to the side. You're going to go back to the exact same position. Take 2 or 3 breaths to kind of get yourself back into those things. Remember, a quick little review. Chin's retracting into the ground. You're trying to flatten out the upper back and the neck. It should feel phenomenal for your upper back and your neck. It should feel decompressed. Elbows should be locked out straight and reaching up to the ceiling. You should almost feel like you actually need to shrug a little bit. So if you find yourself shrugging, that's okay. You're just creating more space in your upper back and getting your rhomboids or all that stuff to open up more. Now, Your knee can stay bent the whole time. Let's just keep it bent. You're gonna exhale and tap the ground with your left heel. Leave your left heel on the ground. Just stay here and breathe, okay? Your left heel's on the ground, but yeah, you're still kind of using some stuff to kind of keep it up. So keep it light on the ground. Learn how to breathe here, okay? Now, did we flatten our lower back out? Hopefully not. Do you notice any asymmetry? Maybe you felt your pelvis drop to the ground a little bit too much on one side. Maybe you're losing the shoulder blades reaching because we're going on our 9th minute. Bring that back, switch sides, do it slowly, show control. Try not to flatten that lower back out. Good. Take a breath or two here, then bring that all the way back. Now you're gonna do straight leg, which is a progression. If you feel your spine go all over the place, you can bend your knee again, all the way out, see if you can hold it. If you want to make it even harder, don't touch the ground, but straighten the leg out. Then bring it back. I'm going to give you guys 30 more seconds to explore, and then you can finally put your hands down. The whole time, still try to notice when you move your hip, does it pull on your spine? Is your neck independent of your hip? Can you extend your hip without your chin flying up to the ceiling? Without your elbows bending, without your lower back flattening? How strong is your ability to stabilize your midline while you move everything else? 5 seconds left. 4, 3, 2, and 1. Beautiful, okay? Everybody's gonna stand up. We're gonna take that same block. We're gonna start off with it in between our knees and start firing that up. Okay, so from here we got nice big deep breath. Get everything locked in, you're nice and tall. Hands are by our side. We're gonna retract, literally recreating the position you just had on the ground. Slowly curl your chin down to your chest. Go only as far as you can without my Jordan symbol dropping, so my chest and my thoracic don't move, so they stay up. From there, I rotate out to the side, and then eventually tilt my head back. As I go back, I should feel nothing closing in the back of my neck. I should feel stretched through the front. As I go to the left, I should feel nothing closing on the left, everything opening on the right. Slowly find your chest. Rotate all the way through. Continue in that direction. Give me one more. Slowly coming back. Feel the front open all the way up. Make sure you're not losing your rib cage. Make sure you're still squeezing that block evenly on both sides. Once you get to the midline, reverse directions. Doing 2 reps in a row. Slowly tilt back. All the way around. Your neck should feel pretty good after what we just did with the breathing. Once you get 2 reps, shake that off. Take your time, go slow. Remember, no closing or pain. Shouldn't feel any pinching anywhere. So in terms of progressing today, we're going to go ahead and work from the spine out, how I always suggest people do their cars. So your spine is going to dictate how well your shoulder blades move, and your shoulder blades are going to dictate how well your shoulder moves. You can take that all the way to elbow and wrist. They're going to have an effect. So right there, we did our neck. We could get on the ground, but just to keep you guys standing, we're going to go right into our shoulder blades. So with our shoulder blades, our elbows are going to lock out. This is not my shoulder blade moving, so I don't want to see the X on your bicep rotating in or out. I want it to stay right there. I want you to think as if you had a gymnastic ring around your elbow. So if I hit that ring, then I'm not moving through my shoulder blade anymore, I'm just moving my arm. Hands are by the side, locked out, nice and tall. First, shoulder blades come forward, so you're going to protract just like you did on the ground. Now you're going to elevate all the way up, slow, squeeze back, then come down. You can get 3 in each direction. Don't get confused, it's just forward, up, back, and down. If your hands are in front of you, you probably broke the gymnastics ring. So try to see if you can keep them just right by your side. If you end up like this around your belt buckle, you definitely are not moving through your shoulder blades anymore. So try to keep it nice and slow. Once you get 3, reverse directions. If you see your rib cage lifting up, then you're probably not moving through your shoulder blades. We want the shoulder blades to move on the rib cage, not the rib cage to try to be your shoulder blades. So go super slow. Try to see if you can keep that X on the bicep in the same exact spot. If you see it continually turning, then you know you have trouble moving your shoulder blade instead of your shoulder. If you're constantly having those things mixed together, then it's going to be pretty tough. After you get 3 of those, I want your shoulder blades to work everywhere. So let's go out here now. Okay, so like you're doing a row. Same thing, elbows stay locked out, forward, up, back, and down. Similar to when we do our ankles, your shoulder blades are probably going to be pretty jolty and lose control during certain spots. When you see those spots, take a mental note, go even slower on the next rep through that range of motion. If you're one of those people that likes time, 3 seconds in each direction, each rep is 12 seconds, so you really can't get more than 2 in the time that we're giving you. Once you go there 2 times, reverse directions, don't get confused, it's a circle. So if you're going forward, you just reverse it to go either up or down, and just keep that circle going. Try not to bend those elbows, go as slow as you can, and control them. Once you get 2 or 3 reps, go ahead and shake that off, let that go. So now moving forward, we're gonna go from scaps to shoulders. For the shoulder, there's an X on my bicep. That's the best cue you can possibly have. Now we're gonna first look at just rotation at bent arms, so 90 degrees right here. If I go down like this, and I'm doing this, I'm probably not using my shoulders, right? So you can see there's a big difference between those. As I go back, if you just see my rib cage come up, my lower back arches, then I'm probably not using that either, okay? So start off with a good breath. Solidify everything. Sniff some air in, trap it, do whatever you need to do to feel stable at your midline, and then slowly turn the axis to the ground and hold. This is internal rotation. We'll talk about this in detail today, but we want to really be able to get down there. And think about you have a stake going in your elbow. So if the stake goes into your elbow, into your shoulder, if your shoulder's all the way forward, the stake is no longer in there. It's got to stay back, right? So then rotate all the way back. You're continually thinking about the X on your shoulder rotating. As you get back, hold. You should 100% feel the backside of your shoulder working here. Let's make it burn by holding this. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Rotate all the way down. Start to squeeze your fist a little bit more and create a little bit more tension. Remember, you're just rotating on that line of axis. Once you hit the bottom, rotate all the way back. No shrugging. We're done with the shoulder blades. Don't lift the rib cage. All the way back. Hold for a second, then come all the way down. Keep squeezing the block with your knees, keeping your lower half locked in, and then all the way back again. Hit one more of those, nice and slow. Make it your best one. So all the way down, all the way back. As you're doing it, try to keep them locked in and start to really kind of zone in on which shoulder's better at what. Most of us are gonna have one good side internal, one good side external. After that one, shake it off for a second. Literally gonna do the exact same thing with your arms straight. So elbows are not allowed to bend. Let's go ahead and fire a little bit more of an extension pattern and reach through your fingers as long as you can. From there, you're gonna go ahead and slowly rotate all the way back, and then rotate all the way in. Remember, we don't want to shrug, so stay nice and tall. The other way, make sure your ribs stay down. We don't want to extend our lower backs. Now, as you're doing this, take a whole nother level to it and try to see if you can move from the bicep first. So instead of moving elbow, wrist, see if you can actually get the shoulder to be the first thing to initiate the rotation. So as you're going through it, you're thinking about talking to the capsule of this joint. So the most deepest part of your shoulder joint, we're communicating with it right now. Let's do about 2 more of those, then shake that off. Remember, if your shoulder doesn't rotate, it won't do anything else well. So that's why we're really prioritizing. We're gonna talk about it a lot today. See how hard that gets really quickly, right? Okay, so shake that off for a second. Now what we're gonna do is we're gonna go ahead and go both arms out to the side again with the bend. You're gonna go ahead and reach back on your left side as far as you can into external rotation. My elbow should stay where it is. The back side of my shoulder should start to burn, so I want you to feel that. Okay? This one is going to do 3 reps, all the way down, all the way back, and I don't want you to move your left one at all. So left one stays burning and back. Right one controls internal and external rotation for 3 reps. Take your time, go slow. As soon as you start to realize that you're only focusing on the one moving, fire that other one back up. Really let it pull back. This is part of the routine that I do every single day. Not exactly what we're doing right now, but getting the reps in both directions with straight and down. Okay, after you get 3 of those, same thing on the other side. Fire that to go back. 3 really controlled on that side. Try to make sure you own each little spot along that rotation. And when you think you have too much, you're going a little too far, just scale it back a little bit. Especially if you're new to the cars, just keep them in a smaller range of motion and own every little bit. After you're done with your 3rd one there, we're going to go ahead and get into a lunge position. It doesn't matter which knee you have down. Okay, so we kind of talked about a little bit about this yesterday. Whatever foot you have in the front, I want you to think about creating a short foot. So that's basically pulling this part of your foot to your heel. So you're contracting your arch as if it's pulling the ground towards you. Ideally, that should actually light up your hamstring too. And it should even look like I'm pulling my hip back. On the other side, I should be feeling a little bit of this pushing forward, or me trying to pull the ground away from me with my left knee. And that should really lock in stability down low. So now it's like I'm actually working hard to stay here and stay as stable as possible. Now we're gonna go into a shoulder car on your left side. So you can do whatever you want. I'm gonna just use your back leg. So whatever one's back there, use that shoulder. So I'm here nice and tall. I'm gonna go up as high as I can. And I just want you to hold here. Get as far as you can and hold. Now as you're here, take a little self-inventory. Did anything change down low? How high are we getting? Is your elbow straight? Did you move your neck to get there? Are you flaring up your rib cage? So check those things, make sure none of those are happening. Is your elbow still straight? Is it a matter of being strong here? Make sure it's still straight. Are you still pulling that front foot back? Are you still letting that back hip pull forward? Now from here, I want that X on your bicep to turn out. So I'm rotating out away from my ear, and I'm gonna continually try to turn the X on the bicep down towards the ground until I reach back. When you do this, your first couple of times it'll feel weird, but it's really your pinky is gonna be facing forward, so it looks like this for you guys. I can't see my other arm. So I'm here now, I'm reaching back. I always do both directions. Reach back into extension as far as you can. Continue that tension down low, and then the X on my bicep's gonna rotate the other way, external rotation. So I come all the way around. All the way forward. We're gonna do 5 total reps, but I'll walk you through the next one too. So really strong all the way up as far as you can. Then you're gonna start to rotate away from you. X on the biceps, rotating throughout the whole movement. Eventually end up by your side. Pinkies facing forward, reach back. Then rotate the hand, elbow, and shoulder all the way around. 3 more, staying in that lunge position. Try to stay nice and tight the whole time. If you can see the mirror, so you can see whether you're falling out to the side, any changes that might be happening. Make sure your rib cage isn't turning either. That's one I didn't mention. But as your shoulder moves, you're going to want to turn your ribs to make a little bit of extra range of motion. Try not to let that happen. Super slow. You can do an entire rep too without your shoulder really rotating. Don't just throw your arm around. Make sure that there's that rotation that we just warmed up. Try to draw off of that. After you get your 5th one, you're going to go ahead and switch sides, doing the other side. You're going to switch lunges too. Make sure your lunge is on point. Remember that front foot should be pulling back. Try to keep that nice constant tension through the hips. Foot's pulling back. Remember, feel hamstring and arch. Don't let that big toe leave the ground in the front. You should feel the hip flexor on the other side, kind of pulling forward and maybe even getting a little bit of a stretch. Try not to let the spine rotate. You're only moving through the shoulder. Remember, it's nice and straight up. Once you hit as far as you can that way, you're going to rotate all the way out. As we rotate out, the X on the bicep is continually moving through the range of motion. When we finish, we're halfway done and we have our pinky forward. Then we reach back into extension and rotate all the way through. As soon as your elbow bends, it's technically a compensation. So if you're getting a big circle when your elbow's staying bent, scale it back, own it with the elbow locked out and straight. Notice somewhere that feels less control. Maybe you notice you started doing some weird stuff with your fingers or your wrists. Try to see if you can keep those uniform the whole time. If you want to start the rep with the weird stuff on the fingers, throw a little hand out there, that's cool, but make sure it stays the same throughout the rep. Because remember, we talked a lot about intent yesterday, matching our intent of our exercises. Let's give you guys about 20 more seconds to finish at least 5 of them. If you get 6, I won't be unhappy. 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, and 1. Awesome. Okay. So we are going to go into depth today about the elbow, especially about hyperextended elbows. But let's real quick just go through just a double elbow car on each side. So you can be however you want, whether you want to be kneeling, you can be up here, doesn't really matter. I want you to straighten out your arms out to the side. Now we just worked on the X on the bicep movement, but that was our shoulder. Now I want the X on your forearm to really be your marker. Just like your knee, if I lock out my elbow, I'm not going to be able to just move my elbow too much. So if I have it nice and soft, then I can actually move my elbow without my whole entire shoulder coming along. So I'm down by my sides, I slowly bend my elbow slightly, and now I'm trying to turn the X's all the way out the whole time. So I'm really trying hard to irradiate and turn the X out, and then I'm going to curl. As I curl, I'm continually trying to turn my thumbs out. Once I get all the way up here, don't just stop. We want the muscle to shorten fully. So squeeze as much as you have. Then you're going to flip your hand in and continually try to turn in as you straighten your arm out down by your side. So you're constantly trying to turn in, there's rotation happening, it should look like you're working hard. From the bottom, we kind of soften a little bit so that's not straight, rotate all the way out, same thing. So I'm continually trying to rotate as I come all the way up. Then I'm gonna go ahead and flip over, come all the way down. Now we can reverse direction, so I'm reverse curling, and as I do it, I'm still trying to turn my thumbs down to the ground. So I'm continually trying to rotate through the whole movement with intent. All the way out, slowly come down. Once I get down, soft a little bit, flip over, continually try to rotate all the way up. Rotate out, come all the way. Now for wrist, okay, we're gonna kind of talk about handstands today. Can you just show your wrist? So like that's what your wrist should look like. I don't do handstands, so you can see that I have like maybe 10, 15 degrees left over that I definitely need, especially on the left. And there's also another distinction to think about. So when you're looking at that, you can see that my wrist might be able to get there, but then my fingers are like, why do we play so many video games? And they're all the way up here. So those two things are different. So if you get a stretch out of your finger, that's one thing, and then getting a stretch out of your wrist is another thing. So just something quickly to think about. So what we're gonna do now is, after you've looked at your wrist extension, let's just go ahead and open it up. We're not even gonna do any cars because we're gonna train it right at. So everybody's gonna get to be here. And then I just want you to sink back as far as you can. Similar to everything else that we've done, there's never any closing angle pain. So if you were gonna feel a pinch on the top of your wrist, and the limitation wasn't coming from the front of the forearm, that would be closing angle pain. We wouldn't want that. Nobody feels that, right? We all feel a terrible stretch in the front of the wrist. Awesome, okay. Big deep breaths, start working on your breathing here. Try to sink back. Maybe you notice that your fingers are coming together. See if you can separate them. Try to get as long as you can through the entire system. Maybe you notice that your wrists are starting to turn a little bit. See if you can turn them all the way the opposite direction so you get as much out of them as possible. Big deep breaths. As you're here, I want you to try to envision that your exhales are releasing the tension in the front of your forearm, in this portion right here. So the muscles that do the opposite of what we want are relaxing and allowing us to go further. First, we're going to try to talk to them through breath. We're going to try to calm them down a little bit. Then we're going to talk to them through strength and using isometrics, which is your pails. Then you're going to use your rails and pull yourself deeper into it. So your pails for this portion is what I was just talking about, relaxing. You're using this stuff right here to push into the ground as if you're flexing your wrist. Your rails is the opposite, where you're really trying to pull your fingers and your wrist off of the ground. Okay? So everybody's gonna take a big deep breath in. Exhale everything out, get that canister, that pressure, everything's tight in your midline. Now start to drive your fingers through the ground. If you're on my left side, it's almost like you're pulling your fingers towards everybody on the right and vice versa. So you're really driving into the ground. Every single second, try to increase your tension and your pressure into the ground as if there's a scale, and I want it to get heavier and heavier as we go. A little bit stronger every single second. You guys got about 5 seconds to max out. It's your strongest contraction that you can possibly get to. Hold your strongest contraction for 10, 9, 8, 7. When I'm done counting, you're going to try to pull your fingers off of the ground. You're going to try to use as much of the top of the forearm as possible. And you're not going to lean forward. Don't even lean back. Try to actively use your wrist. Ready, set, go. Try to pull your fingers up. Try to use all of this tissue to pull yourself more into the assessment that we just did. Keep trying. Should be burning. Try your absolute best to do it. 10, 9, don't lean forward, don't lean back either. Stay right where you are so that the movement's trying to come from the wrist. Picture it getting longer in the front. 5, 4, 3, 2, stay here and breathe. Don't lean forward. Big deep breaths. Notice I conveniently stop this one quickly. It's like you guys do. All right, one more big deep breath. Exhale everything out. Start driving through the ground again. Another round. Every second a little bit stronger. Keep trying to push through it. Should be very uncomfortable and not painful. Max out your tension and hold for 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Rails. Try to pull those fingers off the ground. Try to feel the top side of the forearm working and pulling you deeper into the stretch. If you're doing it really well, the stretch is increasing right now. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Stay here and breathe. Give me 3 of your best breaths. Try to fill everything up. Exhale as long as you can. Make it a contest who can exhale the longest. And then slowly get out after your 3rd breath. That sensation will go away, I promise. Just don't try to walk on your hands right now. So hopefully we kind of made a point there. Got to train both sides of the joint. Passively is not going to do it, right? So you guys see how much tension and activity that really requires. And you can see, thinking about, if you want, you can even look at your wrist. You should see a little bit of a gain. And it's definitely a temporary gain. So just, over time to really get a biological change, you'd have to do that consistently. And then what you would do is exactly what we're going to do right now. So you have your wrist, right? From here, let's go ahead and pull yourself like Spider-Man into wrist extension. So try to get as much wrist extension as possible. Then from there, you're gonna rotate in, come all the way towards you to wrist flexion, and then out. Okay, everybody's gonna draw 3 circles. How do you know if you're compensating? That X that we use for the elbow, if it moves, now you're moving through your elbow. Okay, so you can kind of see your fingers are not your wrist. So if you see your fingers start to bend or do any of those weird things again, try to tell them to stay straight. Could you do it with a fist? Absolutely. You can do it with anything, but remember your intent. Right now your intent's not to bend your fingers. Some of you might notice that you have really great extension, and then when you go to flex your wrist, it looks like you're holding a cup of water. So try to see if you can keep that straight and see if you can get to there. And then that X on the forearm, remember, if the X moves, so if your wrist looks like this, then that X definitely moves. You only have so much. Think about if you put your cell phone on your forearm right here, it wouldn't fall. So if your cell phone falls off, then you definitely went too far. Okay. Get 2 or 3 in each direction. Maybe feel for some of the rough spots. So these are your wrist cards. So another thing that if like you have a deficit here and you want to continue to get back to handstands, your handstands are on the shelf, you can do these all day, nobody would even notice. Okay? All right, so let's get into the real hard stuff now. Okay? We're gonna go ahead and just get into the quadruped position. As I promised yesterday, I just want to go ahead and kind of show you guys the difference between the different positions of shoulder cars, or scapular cars. So from here, what I want you guys to do, without bending your elbows, without losing your core, I want you to slowly squeeze along between your shoulder blades. Then I want you to slowly do the opposite and push the ground away. There's a big difference between my rib cage dropping to the ground and my shoulder blades actually retracting. Okay? So try to feel that stuff work. You're gonna get 4 reps. Try to see if you can get each rep to take 6 seconds at least. That means you're squeezing your shoulder blades for 3 seconds. You're pushing the ground away from you for 3 seconds. When you fully squeeze your shoulder blades and come out of it, it should feel a little bit out of control. It kind of like you have a hard time switching gears almost. Try your best to keep it as slow as possible. And just like we worked on yesterday, a lot of our compensations with spinal cars, especially early on, are going to be the shoulder blades, right? Well, if I put you in the exact same position and I have you get better control with the compensation, you'll probably get better at not compensating when we go back to our spinal cars. So 3 or 4 reps. After you get 3 or 4 reps, it's as simple as just breaking down the next step. So we did forward and back. We're pushing the ground away from you and squeezing the shoulder blades together. Now let's go up and down. So you're gonna pull your shoulder blades to your ears, and then you're gonna pull your shoulder blades into your, towards your butt. Towards your ears, towards your butt. And this one usually is like, how do people do this? You usually have a really hard time with it first. It's perfectly normal. It's another way, especially if you were someone who was really using your shoulder as your shoulder blades when we were doing the shoulder cars. What you'll see is right now your elbows are turning. Okay? So you're trying to really use the pit of your elbow to guide some of this movement. We don't want the X on your bicep to rotate. So if you see that, you know that you have trouble dissociating scapula and shoulders. You also don't want your elbows to bend. That's probably one of the really tough ones too. After you get those up and down, now draw the whole circle. Everybody's gonna say, where do I start? Wherever the circle starts, wherever you want. So you're forward, up, all the way around. Do every single direction. Do 2 or 3 in each direction. X on the bicep doesn't move. The elbows don't bend. The spine doesn't try to be your shoulder blades. Control every little inch of it. Slow movement across the ribs. After you get about 3 in each direction, go ahead and relax. And we're going to actually end up face down on your mat. Okay, once you get face down on your mat, you're going to go ahead and put the yoga block out to the side like this, and I want the edge of your elbow to be on the yoga block, so it's going to look just like this. Okay, so we should have a 90-degree angle for the shoulder, and you're able to sit on it just like this. Doesn't matter which one. Now, from here, let's make sure that our abs are in a good position by utilizing our breath. So everybody that had trouble yesterday with the prone position and the idea of kind of pulling your belly button away from the ground, getting the hips out of the way so that they're not arching the lower back, try to work on 3 breaths right now where you do that. We definitely want our elbow to be in a 90-degree angle, and we definitely want it to be straight out to the side, just like the steak kind of analogy, right? So if I was completely on the side of you and I looked into your elbow, it should go directly into your shoulder to a straight line. We also don't want to over-cue it, but I don't want your shoulder blade to just be falling to the ground either. So if you feel like your shoulders just collapse forward, maybe try to pull it back just a little bit so that there's a little bit of distance between the front of your shoulder and the ground. Okay. Now that our positioning is good, I want you to keep your wrist straight, very important. Don't extend your wrist, don't flick it back at all, or no young jock, for anybody that's familiar with that. Nothing. All right, cool. Now we're going to go ahead and lift your hand as high as you can by using your shoulder and hold it. Only your elbow's on the block. So make sure your elbow stays on the block. Lift it as high as you can and hold it. Now you're locked in. About 75% of us are using our wrists, so go ahead and get rid of the wrists. Good. Okay. And hold that 10 more seconds. I want you to try your best to feel the backside of your shoulder just start to explode with tension and use it. 5, 4, 3, 2, and 1. Slowly come down under control. Now, make your fist and make your wrist even more neutral so that we can avoid that. Be as straight as possible. Ready? Lift all the way up and hold. Good. Same thing with the wrist. Almost everybody flicked it back. Check yours if you need it. Maybe you notice your elbow turn. Remember the X on the forearm? Did the X on the forearm start turning, or is your knuckles facing straight to the ground? Hold. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Slowly control it all the way down. Last one, best one. One more. Show me no wrist. Tell your wrist it's not an elbow and it's not a shoulder. Hold at the top. Everything you got. Start feeling your core tense up. Start really feeling the radiation go right to that shoulder and fire up. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Slowly come down. Switch the block to the other side. Same exact thing. So make sure that the block's over there so that you actually have your elbow off of it. We don't want our whole entire elbow and forearm on it, just so it's a pivot point. Once you're ready, get the wrist nice and straight. Lift that up as high as you can and hold. You shouldn't feel any pressure of your rib cage into the ground. That would mean that you're arching your lower back. If you did do that, then reset yourself. You should feel the backside of your shoulder firing. Try not to have your fingernails turn, so try to keep your fingernails facing the ground. Try to keep your wrist neutral. Hold. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Slowly come down. Control the next one all the way up, like you're slowly fighting through a force field. No turning in the elbow, no turning in the fingernails. You're staying nice and parallel to the ground. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Come on down. Last one, best one. Get rid of any compensations you're feeling. Slowly come all the way up and hold. Fire the backside of the shoulder. Imagine there's X on your bicep. It's turning all the way towards your feet. Keep trying. Keep trying. A little higher. A little bit more. 5, 4, 3, 2, and 1. Beautiful. Good. All right. Now, I'm going to go ahead and take you guys through. Just everybody look for a quick second if you're not familiar with these. There's a million variations. We're going to do one. You guys are going to be face down, but I'm showing it to you like this. So you're here, hands are on your lower back. If they go higher, it gets harder. If they go lower, it gets easier. So I'm here. If you're having trouble being here, then you need to do the sleeper and internal rotation of the shoulder. That means that you're having trouble with that. So we should be able to be here. We're going to go ahead and pull our elbows back first. Okay? That's also going to squeeze your shoulder blades. Then we lift our hands. Try not to lift them like this, like, hey, I'm helping each other. Try to lift them like this so that they're independent. Then from there, we're going to slowly lock out our arms. Not here, here. Okay, really let them all the way lock out. Then we rotate just like your shoulder car, but both sides. I want everybody today for the first reps just to get to a Y. Try to see if you can get that Y to be far away from the ground, because remember you're face down. And then you just reverse directions and come all the way down, rotating for the bicep. At the last second, I bend my elbows, but I don't touch my lower back. Then I come down, then I come down. Then the rep's over. If you're not resting in between reps, you're not doing what I'm asking you to. I want it to be that hard. So let's go through one together. Everybody's face down. 3 breaths for everyone. Take your time. Pull your belly button away from the ground. Get everything locked in. Work really hard to get really set up as best as possible. Hands are on the lower back. Find out where they need to be. Now, squeeze your elbows together first. Hold that. Don't even lift your hands yet. I want you to start to feel your scaps squeezing the walnut between them. Crush that shit. Just squeeze as hard as you can right now. Now, if you notice your rib cage lifted up, fix that before we get started. Lift your hands only and hold. Just that. Just that. Make sure they're independent. 5, 4, 3, 2. Come back to your lower back. Rest for a second. Good. Fire up again. Elbow squeeze, shoulder blade squeeze, lift hands. Good. Straighten out your arms, lock out, hold. Squeeze your triceps as hard as you possibly can while you're squeezing your shoulder blades. Everything you got. Lift up higher. Do not lose your abs. More tension. 5, 4, 3. Bend the elbows. Don't touch the lower back. We're returning to where we were. Don't touch the lower back if you can. Hover, hover. 3, 2, 1. Slowly come down. There's the first 2 steps. These are fun. Next one. Squeeze shoulder blades. Lift hands. Straighten out. Good. There's those X's on your bicep. Rotate all the way out. Start to turn and get to that Y. Remember, your body's just looking like a Y. Good. Once you get all the way there, try to avoid holding hands with the person next to you and return all the way back by turning the X towards the ground and reaching back. Differentiate those last few steps. Elbows bend, then the lower back goes down. Take a second to rest. Maybe take a second to move to the side. Can we do that? You guys want to slide to the side a little bit so you have more room? Should we do that? You guys want to slide? Everybody's like kind of hitting each other. You guys are going to be doing a lot of stuff like this. Let's just take a second to just slide a little bit to the side so everybody has just a little bit more room with their mats. There you go. No, I didn't. Or you can say the same, whatever works. All right, so everybody's going to get 5 total reps. That first one did not count. That first 7 of them that we just did. We're good there. All right, you have 5 reps. Every single direction, you're fighting for more range of motion. All right. If at any point you notice that you feel a lot of pressure, especially here in the rib cage into the ground, then you're probably using your spine to be your shoulders. So try to see if you can get rid of that with a breath and get yourself all the way back into a good position. Maybe try a rep with your hands making a fist. Do a rep with your arms nice and or your hands nice and straight and long through the fingers. And at all costs, keep those ribs down. If you notice that your sternum is all of a sudden 3 inches off of the ground, then you're absolutely using your upper back like we don't want you to. This is really a shoulder and scapular movement. It's not really a thoracic extension movement. So if you start to feel your sternum lifting higher and higher, and maybe you start to feel some tone in your lower back start to fire up, then you are correct. You're probably moving through your spine. And if you are that person, then resetting yourself with a breath, maybe try another rep at that same height. If you still get that compensation, what do? We regress to progress. Get a little bit closer to the ground with your hands and own the movement better. Make sure those arms are straight when they're supposed to be straight. Again, if you're resting in between reps, you're probably doing exactly what I'm asking you to, because that's how hard you should be working. Take your time, get as far as you possibly can on every single rep. I usually let out a little in between and just kind of die by myself and then get back into it. Don't be afraid time in between reps to really set up your breath. Promise I would say that a million times. I'm getting close. As you're going through it, every single movement's a self-assessment, right? So, man, my left shoulder cannot get to my lower back it just can't. That needs internal rotation. You're basically assessing it. When I go out in front of me and I try to get to that Y, my right shoulder just doesn't get there as well. There's an assessment. I know that one's not having as good of a time there. Start piecing these things together, applying the strategies that we're giving you throughout the weekend, and moving towards better movement. Yay. After you get your fifth one, I'll know you're done by you flipping over and just being on your back and breathing in the bridge position. While we're transitioning, does anybody have any questions about any of the upper body stuff that we've done so far? Cool.
When you bring your hands back, do you care about which ones are going
I would switch it up, yeah. You just switch them for sure. So she asked, does it matter which hand's on top and the back? The one that you put farther away from the ground is probably the one that you feel better with, so you'll probably notice that. And switching them, or maybe even doing more reps with the one that doesn't want to be there would probably be pretty smart, right, to challenge that. Great question. Okay, so we're flat on our back. Now we're going to go ahead and keep getting after that kind of idea of the core and our spine really dictating the positioning of our shoulder. Everybody's going to start with their hands reaching up to the ceiling, this time just like this, so your middle finger is reaching straight up to the ceiling. You're going to go ahead and get your positioning down. Make sure your abs are nice and tight, but we don't have to crush the ground with our lower back. Lift your knees up to 90 degrees. Now remember, you can bend your leg, so that's an option, that's a regression. I'd like your arm to stay straight, even if it doesn't get to the ground. We're gonna go ahead and do a 30-second isometric. We're gonna try to breathe. You're gonna try to touch the ground with your right thumb and let your left leg go out. Right thumb, left leg. Either straight with the leg or bent. If it changes your spinal position, then you can regress it, and you're just hanging out there. Learn how to breathe here. Now that we put your tension on, or your core under tension, what does it do to the rest of the body? Try to keep your ankles dorsiflexed so your toes are pulling towards your knees. Now, if our shoulder's really limited, your elbow's probably bent, right? Maybe you noticed it wanted to go out to the side, right? So you can see, if my abs can't hold me down, my elbow's gonna bend or my lower back's gonna try to get into the movement. 15 seconds left. Some of us are just panic mode right now, cannot breathe at all. Try to get rid of that too. Be able to breathe without losing tension. You can breathe and keep tension. These things are possible. 3, 2, bring that back. So we did right hand, now we're gonna go left hand and opposite leg. So left hand, right leg, all the way out. This would be known as contralateral, so opposites. So left hand, right leg. Hold here. It's a little bit skewed because you're gonna do things back to back, but this is also assessment. So we could have had you wait a minute or two and then see which side felt stronger. We could time each one also. You're assessing the way your body works across. You notice there's a lot of similarities between your position now and running, right? One leg working with the opposite shoulder. 15 seconds left. 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, bring that back. Now, same side, so I'll let you guys choose. You're either left and left or right and right. Bring it all the way out and hold it. So same sides. Hold. You might have noticed you did something weird with the other hand and you started going along for the ride. That's okay, everybody does that. Just bring it back so it's nice and straight up. See if you can breathe here. Now, if you're using your right arm and your right leg or whatever one's straight, see if you can exhale hard and pull that side into the ground, like you're using that oblique and really firing it up and pulling it into the ground. Whatever arm is straight with the leg, that side. 5, 4, 3, 2, slowly bring that back, switch sides. If you need to take a break, that's okay, do the other side. All the way out. Try to be here, try to breathe. Feel your abs firing. If you just feel your sacrum and your lower back shaking, going all over the place, maybe regress it, maybe give yourself a little breather. You want to feel your front line working hard to keep everything stable. Could you do this with an absolute flat back? Yes. It's an option. So if it is like that, it's not a big deal. I want you to be able to brace your core in multiple ways. 15 seconds left. Stay with me if you are. 14, 13, 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, and 1. Bring that in. Flip back over. We're going face down. Okay, I want you to set up like you're doing a handstand on the ground. So you're going to just be face down like this. Okay, so we're going to start off by breaking this down. Remember, a lot of the things that we're trying to accomplish here is for you guys to be able to see what components make up a movement. So you're basically in a handstand right now. We're just orientating gravity in a different way. We've talked about the wrist, we've talked about the shoulder, we've talked about abs, the spine, all these things. So right from here, I want you to pull your fingers off of the ground and extend your wrist just like you would be in a handstand. Now, if we're having trouble with this, that's obviously probably not the best candidate to start putting all of our body weight on that small little joint, right? So hold that. If you want to re-look at it and see where you're at, that's cool too. Now from here, make sure your elbows are completely locked out. And let's see if you can keep your head down, your abs tight, so no arch in the lower back, and just lift your hands. Just hold. Lift the hands, lift the elbows, and hold. Trying to engage everything in your upper back, your shoulders, just hold. Notice how your fingers start to just all of a sudden be like, let's go away from the face. Don't let that shit happen. Pull them back. Keep holding up, up, up. Notice whether your elbows bend. Notice whether you're arching your lower back and trying to pull that into the equation. Keep holding. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Slowly come down. Pretty brutal, right? Okay, does that make sense to everybody? How we're saying you're supposed to be able to hold that position upside down. Makes a lot of sense to hold it face down first, right? That's a prerequisite towards it. Now, let's go ahead and do the same thing. This time you're going to try to keep your elbows and your wrists as high as you can, and you're going to go ahead and point and then extend. So try to flex and extend. So go just to be parallel to the ground, and then pull back as far as you possibly can. Hold for a second, then go back. So we're face down. Start off with your wrist and extension. Lift up just like you just did. So lift, arms stay straight. Now you're gonna flex your wrist so that it's parallel to the ground, and then pull it back as hard as you can and hold for 1 second, then forward. Try to keep those elbows straight. If you need to, you can go a little bit farther away from your ears and that'll make it easier. But we definitely know if we need to go farther away from our ears, then we don't have that position for our handstand, which is okay. After you get your 5th rep, slowly come down to the ground. Good. Feet should be staying down. Okay. Now, what we want to do is you're going to go ahead and put your hands out to the side. So see if you can get like in a cross position. And then I want to turn your thumbs up to the ceiling. Okay, so oftentimes we have a lot of people, especially mobility training, where you're kind of just rolling a cross ball on your chest, maybe hitting a banded stretch and then going on with your life. That stuff doesn't work. It's got to have some active component. So since the chest is such a popular, my shoulders are rounded forward, maybe you sit a lot, maybe you're doing massage on someone, right? So hours and hours of pushing forward. Here's a really good way to actively open up your chest and strengthen your upper back. So as always, 100 millionth time, abs are tight, you've solidified your positioning down low. You're gonna slowly retract your shoulder blades and crush the walnut, and then lift your hands as high as you possibly can with your elbows straight. Now holding this position, try to make sure you didn't arch your lower back. You don't want your hands to necessarily go to your feet. That wasn't one of the cues. So you should still look like a T, not whatever that would be, maybe an A down there, I don't know. Keep holding. Notice if one of your thumbs is turning to the ground, that one needs shoulder external rotation. So turn the X on the bicep back to your feet without dropping your elbows at all. Keep screwing the X on the bicep back towards your feet. Good, don't shrug, squeeze shoulder blades back, not up. Good, keep trying, 5 seconds left. 3, 2, 1, slowly lower. Good. Now we talked about controlling the elbow. You're gonna do the exact same thing, lift. I don't want this to happen, so try to avoid this at all costs. So I'm here, I'm gonna bend and try to get my hands farther back than my elbows, and then I'm gonna come all the way out 5 times. So I'm trying to keep my hands as far away from the ground as I possibly can without any of this. Cool. So ready, face down, hands go out to the side, thumbs are up to the ceiling. Turn the X's on the biceps towards your feet. Lift as high as you can. Try to keep your elbow where it is and your hand going up to the ceiling the whole time. Bend all the way like a bicep curl. And then back. Both arms at the same time. And then straighten all the way out. Ideally, your elbow will stay exactly where it is. Good. So you're just hinging off of that point. And the whole entire time, you're radiating like Scott, so your upper back is on fire. Elbow stays where it is. Show control. Show me your shoulder blades and your shoulder have the control to maintain that position while we express mobility from the elbow. After 5 reps, slowly come down. Okay, so now you're going to go ahead and get into a plank position, just a normal plank, and we're going to go ahead and do scapular cars from there. So don't let it confuse you, even though it's probably going to confuse your body a little bit, but it's really as simple as, remember we broke this down already, we're just going to do 5 reps in each direction now. So you're squeezing together, you're pushing away, so there's half my rep. You're elevating, and you're pulling down. This is not my shoulder blades, so make sure you don't do that. So you're just drawing a circle through the whole movement, keeping your core tight. 5 in each direction. If you need to take a little breather, take a little breather. If you want a regression, that's still a progression from quadruped, just move your hands a little bit further away from your knees, and then we can work it from here. But try the plank out if you can. As long as your elbows are staying straight and you're not feeling any pain, that would be great. Think if you had a cup of water on your lower back too, so that doesn't move. Nice and slow. If you want, you can break it down at first, or just try to draw the full circle right off of the bat. Try not to let your head fall off, no Ichabod crane, right? You don't just let it slide off. Think about that strength to kind of keep your chin where it was, right? Like we started off with our breathing. You see how all these things kind of build on each other. You can own that positioning on the ground. That's the first step towards owning it here dynamically. And after you get 5 in each direction, just give yourself a little breather. Okay, so kind of the last thing that we're going to do, we're going to finish with a little bit of breathing, but I want you guys to just do one more of these. So we're basically going to do what's called a hover. And we're really just kind of breaking down the swimmer. You'll see that for me, the swimmers are so good, the ones that you really did 5 that were really hard of, even though you guys did a lot of stuff like that, right? But they kind of incorporate everything. But this is if you wanted to break down a certain spot. So say if I was really having trouble with just this first little spot, I can work really hard on just owning it. So same thing, abs get tight, I lock everything in, I make sure my elbow's locked out. I'm gonna lift up as high as I can first. So I wanna make sure that I go straight up as high as I can without anything else joining the party. Once I'm up there, I stay locked out, and I'm gonna slowly, with tension, just try to hover over it. You can even clear it extra, and then try to see if you can slowly let it down as if there was a string and you're not bending your elbow the whole time. From there, lock everything in again, go straight up as high as you can without bending your elbow, and then come all the way over it, place it down. Let's have everybody get 5 on each arm, and don't be afraid to even explore. Maybe if you want to do 5 there, then move it over to here. You can come off your lower back. Maybe get a little bit creative with yourself and just start to explore. And even think about where you're having struggles to spend time there. So wherever you're at, position gets solidified first. Elbows locked out. Come all the way up first. Then over, then down. Try to differentiate between them. If you're having trouble getting over the yoga block, kick it out of the way. Who cares? It's just a marker. It just looks a little cooler. It's not a big deal though. You can do it without it. Show as much control as possible. Start really honing in on your compensation. So am I one of the people that likes to do the rib cage flare? Do I feel my lower back arching? Maybe I'm an elbow bender, right? Maybe do a rep with your hand making a fist. Maybe do a rep with your fingers nice and long. Switch to the other side. So again, we're just showing you one position, but you could literally do this face down from any spot. The reason face down is so valuable is we really get a lot of feedback for our body. So a lot of the people that are having trouble with their spine, sooner or later you're going to know when your spine's digging into the ground. It's there. Now if I have you stand up, it's going to be a little bit tougher. You'll need the mirror, right? It's a little bit harder to feel that stuff. When we're face down, we're also going directly into gravity when we're talking about flexion. So the idea of lifting up, you're lifting up in the hardest position to lift up. It's a lot easier to lift up when we're standing. And if we want to be efficient with our work, we're always going to be working off an assessment. We're going to be working off of what we need, not what we see or not what we just saw on Instagram or did there. So especially if you're putting in extra work, maybe outside of classes or something like that, you should really be putting in the work in those specific spots that you need. So the first step is definitely establishing a baseline, which is a big goal of ours this weekend. So you should have seen what are you missing for your squat. Now you know how to work on it. Today you're going to see what are you missing for your upper body. We've already assessed scapular control. We did a lot of spine yesterday. We did shoulder rotation. After you get your 5th one of those on each side, just going to kind of throw your block out of the way and finish with a little challenge. Why not? Challenge is going to be a kind of integrating a little bit of strength like we talked about yesterday with the lower body stuff. And what we're looking at doing is really owning a push-up on the way down, and then we're going to add some kind of Kinstretch stuff with some elbow hinges. There's really a million different ways you can add on to this, and you'll kind of see as we do more different things. But basically, we're looking for a really good eccentric push-up, meaning I'm going to slow myself on the way down. What happens with the push-up is I start off in full shoulder protraction. I'm basically in the position we started in for the ground, but I'm in a plank, right? So where we did our breathing is where I am right now. It's just a little different. So as I go down, I'm going to soften my elbows. I'm going to lean forward, and I'm going to slowly retract my shoulder blades. At the bottom, I should ideally be here, right? So abs are tight, I'm nice and tall, my shoulder blades are squeezed back. I'm going to lift off of the ground. I'm going to try to keep my wrist in extension, which isn't going to happen for me. And I'm going to slowly straighten all the way out, come all the way back, and then I'm going to try to push myself back up. Okay? Regressions. You can easily be here. This is a tough position for most people to keep their core tight, so just make sure that if you get into here, it doesn't cause you to just like drop your hips at the same time. So you could do it from here and then go into the next part and then push yourself up with the knees too. Or you could just push yourself up from the knees and then on the way down, you really do the full one. And then from here, you can do it easy. Okay, so there's a bunch of different options for everybody. I want everybody to get 5. And let's just show you one real quick. So again, I'm here, pushing through the ground, nice and slow. I'm gonna try to get a 10 count. My elbows are gonna try to stay over my wrist. I slowly lower myself to the ground. Try to be as slow as you can, especially in the bottom here. And when you get down, we lift up, try to straighten all the way out as high as we can. Then return on the way back. Try not to touch the ground with your fingers. That's gonna be the wrist. Then get to it, solidify yourself, drive all the way back up, okay? And you can use knees if you need it. Let's get 5 reps for everybody. Definitely one of those situations that you should be taking a second or two to breathe in between reps, especially if you're talking on a large cold brew. Whew. Don't let that head fall off. Don't let your chin rise up. There's nobody in front of you to look at. Unless you're locking eyes with the person across from you, don't do that. Squeeze those elbows and shoulder blades up to the ceiling as best you can. Lock them out. Make sure your elbow stays as high as it can when you're straightening those arms out. When you come back, try to keep that active wrist extension so you're not touching the ground with your fingers. Drive all the way through. At the top of your push-up, don't just reach out through your arms. Let your shoulder blades protract and push the ground away from you. That reaching strength. Yeah, nice. Ideally, your elbows are going to be over your wrist in your push-up. Maybe right behind them. If you feel any pinching in the front of the wrist, don't just go into that. But just so you know, you're definitely working towards getting to that 90 degree of elbow flexion and wrist. Elbow position wrist. Take your time. You can rest a second in between. No matter what you're doing, your hips and your head should touch the ground at the same time. So hips, chest, and head should get to the ground at the same time. So if your hips get to the ground before your chest, then we can almost say with certainty that you're probably arching your lower back and lost your core. As your shoulder blades squeeze back, keep your neck where it is. Don't let your neck fall off and start hitting the ground first. One of the best things that you guys can do, especially if you have a really consistent yoga practice throughout the week, is to really work on your eccentric strength. So that's that lowering portion of you lowering yourself to the ground. You can see how that reinforces the whole range of motion and makes you strong, especially in the toughest parts. So like that real bottom position where you want to just fall on your face, get really strong there, and that'll help big time. What we're really trying to avoid too is letting the shoulder tip forward. It should be back. That's why I over-cued the scapular retraction to really make sure you guys feel that. After you get your fifth one, just sit on your mat. We're just gonna finally finish with a little bit of breathing. One of my favorite positions. Does anybody have any questions so far?
When you're talking about bracing the core and Markow, is it okay to make this possible?
It is, for sure, yeah. Just, yeah, for sure. That's not a problem at all, just as long as it doesn't turn into like what we talked about yesterday where it ends up being like overdone, you know? And that's the thing is like everybody in this room is gonna look different in that position. So that's why I try to really focus on you guys feeling the correct sensation instead of seeing something and thinking that's gonna look. Because everybody's spine is gonna be different to a certain degree, so instead of looking exactly the same as everybody else, try to feel the front, and if you feel your glutes, it's definitely not a bad thing. Okay, so when we get into the bretzel, that is the 90-90 and turning. If you want, let's have everybody use the same hip just so that my cues are the same. So you have left leg in the front, 90 degrees, back leg is 90 degrees as well. Similar to how we did yesterday where we wanted to find a stretch in this front position, I'd like you guys to pull yourself up as tall as you can. As you do that, you should naturally want to push your hips into the ground too, so we're as tall as possible. My left hip is in the front. I'm going to go ahead and go towards my left, and I'm not going to go across my butt. So my butt, there's a straight line out. I don't cross that. I'm going to put my left hand there. Then my right hand's going to come here. This is level 1. Okay? So I'm sitting here and breathing. I'm about 6 foot, 6'1", so I'm going to be about 12 inches away from my body. If you're a little bit shorter, just go accordingly, so maybe like an inch or two closer to you. Basically, I want my spine as long as possible. I want to keep my chest up, and I want to be able to turn my upper back to the left. Take some nice big deep breaths. Fill all the way up. Try to see if you can actually fill up the sides of your rib cage, fill up your upper back. As you exhale, pull the ribs down and in, but maintain your length, and see if you can maybe rotate a little bit more. The pit of your left elbow must stay screwed into the ground. So if the pit of your left elbow is going towards your right hand and you're not doing it, we want to make sure it screws in or externally rotates the shoulder. That's got to stay there, and that should have made it way harder to be here and also more of a stretch. Now, if you feel like you're keeping that elbow locked out and straight, you can go ahead and take your right hand and place it under your left so it looks like this. If your left elbow doesn't look like this, so if it doesn't look like it's screwed out, then don't put your hand under there, you're not ready for it. So if you do this and all of a sudden it looks like that, then we're not really helping ourselves. I'd rather have you here and here like this. If you can, progress it to really screwing through and putting your hand up. Once you do that, you should start to feel the back right shoulder open up and the back right side of your rib cage. See if you can take a nice big deep breath into there. Stay here for 30 more seconds. Most people should kind of do it naturally, but I don't want you to whip yourself out of here. Every once in a while someone does that and they're shocked by it. We're going to slowly come out in about 20 more seconds. Right now, focus on expanding your rib cage, getting breath all through it, lengthening your spine, allowing that rotation to occur. If you look over your left shoulder, you might even be able to tie in your whole entire body, just like we talked about with stick mobility. So you're really stretching one end of your body all the way to the other. 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, and 1. Switching sides slowly. So again, we got right foot in the front, left in the back. We start off by just getting as tall as we possibly can, and then you can go ahead and turn all the way to the side. Make sure the pit of your right elbow is screwed into the ground, so the pit of the elbow is screwing away from my left hand, and I'm able to sink into it. I'm going to look over my right shoulder. If at any point during the 2 minutes you feel like you're doing a good job of locking out your right elbow, you're feeling the right thing. So when we get good at this, what you should be able to feel is actually a stretch in your right hip, so on the outside, basically going all the way through your lower back, across your rib cage. And once you get that left hand into a good position, especially if you can tuck it under and not lose the other stuff, you should actually feel your back left shoulder open up and that side, back, that rib cage, all of that stuff. Make sure you're staying long though. You almost want to think about having your chest up so that you're maintaining length through your spine. Use your breath to fill up, almost like an internal stretch, right? So we're using the expansion through our breath to actually stretch us from the inside. And then when you exhale, use that full exhale. Get rid of everything, pull everything in, and let yourself rotate maybe a little bit more. Then expand again, do it again. 30 seconds left. Focus on your breath. As always, this might be an assessment to say, wow, I cannot turn this way at all. Maybe say your hip feels a little tighter here. 15 seconds left. 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, slowly come out of there.